You guys can start wherever you want, but I want to know what programs are available, how folks can qualify for them, and why this needs to be a conversation that everybody is interested and curious about.
You want to start with me?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we were just talking at the break about the fact that there really is a crisis in San Diego County regarding finding affordable housing. And I'm not just talking about housing for people that qualify for the projects that Nicki's company builds, but just the average family trying to find a house they can afford. I mean, San Diego is probably the most beautiful city, I think, in the United States, and certainly has the best weather and the best amenities. But there's a cost to live here, and that is housing is very expensive. And there's some interesting statistics that the Housing Commission just put out regarding the shortage of housing, not just for people at the lower end of the income range, but also just the average person, is that they said between 2010 and 2020, we need 160,000 new units of housing constructed in San Diego. And the reality is that during the last 5 years, we've only produced 31% of the amount of housing we need for high-income people. And for moderate and low-income people, it's 31% and 4%. 4% of the amount of housing needed for low-income families is actually being constructed. And so this is having a very negative impact on almost every family, because now the average home in San Diego is selling for well over $500,000, which is almost where we were 8 years ago when we had that housing crisis. And the average apartment rents are creeping up over $2,000 a month just for a two-bedroom apartment. So this housing crisis really affects everybody. It's not just people at the lower end of the income spectrum, but if we can create housing for people who are on the lower end of the income spectrum, then that actually frees up other housing for the rest of the people to have too. So this is something that benefits everybody in the community, not just people that might qualify for these types of units.
Just to talk about the need for affordable housing, Joel, when I look across our properties that we have operating in San Diego, and almost all, I'd say, of our friendly competition that has these properties, they're all 100% occupied. So we just don't have enough. Like you're saying, we've got to build more, because
that's true across
full.
the board, though.
They're full.
Even in the private sector.
Yeah, we just need more housing in general, but absolutely affordable, because not everyone can afford paying these exorbitant, $2,000, $3,000 rents and $500,000, $700,000 homes.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You get any more of those stats for us? Those were juicy.
Well, there was one other thing that they said that I thought it was interesting, is that in order to qualify for the average apartment, two-bedroom apartment in San Diego, which would rent for about $1,900 a month, a family needs to make $72,800 a year. That is basically the median income of a family in this county, which means when they say median income, that means half the families make more than that, half make less.
Right.
So that means that basically half the families in San Diego County really can't afford to rent an $1,800 a month apartment.
Right.
Unless they spend more than 30% of their income on rent.
And that number, that median, that dance, that's supposed to represent home ownership.
Exactly.
And it's barely, if not even representing renting, be able to actually rent something.
Right. Well, yeah, because the American dream used to be home ownership. And what we've seen is basically a steady decline in San Diego County of the number of people that actually own homes or can afford to purchase a home.
We're less than the national average now.
Absolutely,
San Diego
way
is.
below.
So let's do this then. So let's just hope, and I'll throw a point out there. Hopefully that finds somebody that resonated with you. Let's move on to how you can actually do this. Okay, so let's say I'm hearing this message right now for the first time. I'm inspired by it. I'm thinking to myself, hey, those income things that Nicki talked about in the last segment, those kind of resonate with me and my family. That's kind of where we are. I'd love to pay 50 to 60% off. I'm a good, upstanding citizen. I can pass the vetting process. What's the best first step for them?
There's a lot, like I said there earlier, there's a lot of rent calculators like that that are available online. You could go to the San Diego Housing Commission. There's ways to do that. Or take a look at our properties. Go to affirmedhousing.com or like I said, any of the other properties that other developers do, and fill out an application. Go on there, look at one that you like, fill out the application, see if the management company can help you figure that out, because they will let you know based on your income where you would fit in and what is available to you. So that's the way, really the way to do it. Just talk to those experts.
So Nicki, is the San Diego Housing Commission, is that kind of like a catch-all? Like, do they have your projects too?
They have a number of ours.
They have a number of yours.
We've partnered with them on a lot.
Okay, good. So that's sort of like the home base, I guess you might say, where this conversation could
It could. They have a lot of data, absolutely, that they publish and is made available. Okay. And then the other cities also have some too. So you could actually go to the city that you're in if you want to stay in that city. They have a lot of information on affordable housing too. They usually have a department that you can work with.
Okay, good. So, but then why would somebody go to your site directly, though, to only deal with just your projects? Like, there's got to be some little advantage to that, right? Not using sort of the third party as the means to get to there.
They're beautiful. You could actually glimpse the properties, and they're all over San Diego. I like that just because you could see what they look like. The bedroom counts are there. It'll talk to you about the levels, so you could get all that information from one place and go from there to dig in even more.
Yeah, and I love that thought too, Joel. You mentioned this earlier in the show that it's not like you drive by and there's a big, ugly sign that's like, poor people live here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? And they're usually beautiful buildings. You might not ever even know that that's actually a low-income housing project.
I get told that all the time. People said, "Oh, I have one. I didn't even know it was there."
Exactly.
It's
that's
in my
point.
neighborhood, and people are nice.
So that's one of the key reasons why you want to start on affirmedhousing.com is because you can actually see which ones are kind of in your neighborhood or the area you like to live or whatever if you want to stay.
Absolutely. They're on Google Maps, and you can just see where they are, take a look at the neighborhood.
So the first thing would be to identify which project you'd like to live in.
Yeah, figure out what part of town you want to be at, and go from there.
And then there's probably a waiting list for that type of stuff, is there not? Especially right now.
Yes. But the good thing about a waiting list is don't let that discourage you, because a lot of people might not be ready to move quite yet. And so you go through the waiting list pretty quickly. So it's just good. Put yourself on that waiting list if that's the one you want. And it'll, I think what Joel was telling me earlier on a break was that his daughter had been put on a waiting list. They told her, it's probably a couple years out. And within 6 months, her turn came up.
Yeah?
They called them and said, we need somebody who can move in 2 weeks. Can you do it? And the other people ahead of you on the list couldn't leave their existing housing fast enough. So they got pushed to the top of the list, and now they're living in a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in Aviera.
So flexibility could be I know not everybody has that luxury, right? But if you are flexible, that could get you to jump way up the list.
Exactly.
Right. And it just shows you that don't be discouraged if they say that the list is long, because things can change very quickly, and you might get pushed to the top of the list.
Well said. So, gang, great place to start would be affirmedhousing.com. You can check in with Nicki over there in the Affirmed Housing Group. Their beautiful projects are on display over there, along with a very easily intuitive to navigate website with resources and a Google Maps to kind of plot, display where the different projects are, and also upcoming ones.
Yes.
In case you want to, hey, there's one coming up. Oh, that'd be cool. I mean, everybody probably wants the new shiny one, right?
Oh, they're beautiful. All of them are beautiful. But yes, the new ones are pretty exciting. Doesn't
hurt to get your name on one of those too. And you can also go down to the SD Housing Commission gang. What's the website for that again? It's like an act. It's they use the first letters, right?
SDHC.
SDHC.org, I believe, right? Yeah. So you got some more information there as well. So, gang, let's do this. Final thoughts with our esteemed panel. Nicki Cometa of the Affirmed Housing Game. Was that actually you on the drums in there, Steve? You came in a little hot. I like it. And that's Joel Incorvaia, IncoreLaw.com. Truth Radio, gang. We'll be right back.